apparently it's an app that you can download. No, he's going to be, Sean Rad is the CEO of Tinder. He's going to be speaking with Katie Fehrenbacher, co-chair of this conference, and they're going to be discussing the Glanceable Ui. Please welcome Katie and Sean to the stage.
From kind of decades looking at the evolution of typeface to Tinder, a year-old mobile dating app that's got insane, explosive growth right now. If you guys don't know, I put a couple of slides of what the UI experience of Tinder looks like, but it's a mobile dating app that you can find people around you based on their location, and there's swipe to the right if you like the person, swipe to the left if you don't like the person, and then there's a double opt-in, so if two people swipe to the right, then they're a match and they can chat.
Very simple.
Yes, super simple. And I asked Sean here today because I really wanted to pick his brain about how you and Tinder created this experience, which is so, drop dead simple, but that is so incredibly addictive to your users and your community, so that there's some stats that, average Tinder user goes on, 11 times a day, 6 minutes at a time. They've got 350 million swipes a day, right? And 3.5 million total matches a day. Yep. Kind of crazy, explosive growth. So how did you create that experience back when you kind of started with a blank sheet of paper or an app?
So I think we have a lot of frustrations with making new relationships in our lives. And we realize there's a lot of great tools that help you get closer to the people that you know, but there's really a lack of efficiency when it comes to meeting new people. And one of the biggest challenges is you're either a hunter, you're going out there and you're making a new relationship, or you're seeking a new relationship, whether it's in business or in a romantic context, and you feel like you're putting yourself out there and you naturally feel rejected. And on the other end of that, you're somebody who's being pursued and you feel overwhelmed and you feel exposed. And what that's done is, as a society, it's made us fearful of putting ourselves out there and making new relationships, and it's made us reject the people who approach us. So we sort of noticed this in our sort of group of friends, and when we looked at how we can solve it, we realized that the answer lies in sort of like this experience you have in high school or elementary school, which is your friend comes and tells you that your crush also has a crush on you. And that moment of that double opt-in, you're interested in her, she's interested in you, and that signal has been exposed, creates this trust and the strength that allows you to sort of go out there and pursue that relationship. So Tinder's all about capturing the signals that we give out on a daily basis, whether we're walking down the streets or we're in a room. We're sort of subconsciously looking at people and saying yes, no, but those signals are being thrown away. Our vision is to capture those signals and to make sense of them and to create new relationships based off of them.
And then kind of in the creation process, was there a lot of kind of testing? You went out and kind of figured out the double opt-in was the key? I mean, how did you come up with those kind of two key, the swipes right, swipe left, and the double opt-in?
So we knew that in order to, we had we related this moment, putting that sort of rating system out there, we related it to sort of the subconscious mind, which works extremely fast. So we knew that in order to sort of capture that data, we had to sort of work at the pace that our minds work. And we had to allow you to, A, get the minimum amount of information you need to sort of make a decision, and then B, give you a quick model for throwing that signal out into the world. And initially we had the button of saying yes or no. I think we started with sort of looking at what do we want to put on the front of the card, and we started with an image that really tells a lot about a person. The image that you choose on Tinder, whether it's because you're skiing or you're doing whatever, I think in that split second says a lot about who you are, much like if I walk into a room, your body language and what you're wearing and what you're doing says a lot about who you are.
Or are you hot or not, right?
Of course, that's something we all consider in every type of relationship. And then the next thing is your common friends and your common interests, and that simple signal, you can glance at that and understand if there's a level of trust with this person, and then ultimately you just say yes or no. So we got the sort of the information, I think, right, but when we originally designed the buttons, we knew that when we were using it ourselves, we realized that like this idea of like tapping and then seeing the card go is a little slow. It's slower than the time it takes me to make a judgment. So I need a way to sort of act as I'm making the judgment, and therefore, we can exponentially increase the number of ratings we get, and by doing that, you're increasing the number of matches, and so on, and the cycle continues.
Got it. And you guys went to great lengths to make it a lot more kind of female-friendly than, some other sites. So, you go on and you have all these different things that you're trying to make women feel comfortable, and also, it's not like a huge sausage fest on there. There's women on there, right? So
there's a lot of women.
So, what did you do? Like, what was your strategy?
So it's the idea of the whole double opt-in, and it's the idea of not creeping people out. It's interesting because when we talk to women and we sort of just talk to them about their experiences going out, not even on the internet, what we hear is that because of the hunter-hunted scenario I explained, the good guys that they want to be approached by are not approaching them, and then the ones that approach them are the creeps. And so then when a good guy actually does approach them, they think they're a creep and they reject the guy, and then it sort of feeds into the cycle where guys stop approaching girls. And we go downhill in society when it comes to our ability to make new relationships. So what we hear from girls is that it's sort of solving that problem, and most importantly, it's putting control back into their hands by saying, I'm only going to talk to the people that I want to talk to, and if I swipe right and I say no to somebody, I don't feel like I'm rejecting them. So there's no social pressure to interact with somebody that I truly don't want to interact with. And in a way, that makes society a little better, because people are feeling less rejected, they're feeling more confident, better about themselves, and you're sort of just nudging somebody down the path of least resistance when it comes to making a new relationship.
Okay. And then I thought it was super interesting the way Tinder launched. I was reading, it was in VP of Marketing, was talking about the launch in a few college campuses with very hot girls, right?
That's
no
part
for
of it.
party campuses. So tell us about that strategy and maybe why that was important.
So the idea was, we sort of, day one, we told ourselves that we want to make sure that we're solving a core human issue. And if you think about meeting new people, the last group in society that you think would need help is college students, because they live in a very socially charged environment. So we told ourselves, if we could get college students to use Tinder, and we could solve a problem for them when it comes to social discovery, then we could work for everyone. So it was sort of like our way of like stress testing the idea, the application, and it was a great way to sort of seed the product in this very organic this very dense environment. And so what we did is we went to colleges and we seeded the product with fraternities and sororities and sort of key influencers in a given area. And we monitored their behavior, and next thing we knew, it just exploded all over the US, and then spread like a virus overseas. The sort of the moment where it expanded was in January, a few months after our launch, when everyone went home for break and told their friends and told their older, their brothers and sisters, and just exploded from there.
Yeah, so it's really word of mouth is the growth.
It's the current growth engine, and we've never bought an ad. I think we've tested, we've probably spent like $200 on ads just for fun. But it's pure organic growth, and it's really It's our users teaching their friends how to use Tinder. And I always like to think when you have a product and a tool set that you've created around solving a problem, ultimately the context around how people use those tools, like whether it's Tinder and who you swipe right to and then what you say when you match with somebody, or whether it's Snapchat and what kind of content you're sharing, that content is a learned behavior. It's not something you can teach your users. And learned that in order for that to successfully sort of grow, it needs to be organic. So I don't think you can sort of engineer the type of growth Tinder's had. And I don't, because if you engineer it, I think the sort of, if you look at the retention, the engagement, the product would sort of break at the seams. There wouldn't be an ecosystem. There wouldn't be a sort of engaged audience to sort of interact with.
Is there a way that you're tweaking or changing the experience as you hit so much growth? I mean, obviously it changes because there's more people, but like beyond that.
So yeah, we spend a lot of time tweaking our algorithm, or in other words, the recommendation engine, or the logic that defines who sees who based on what interests set or commonalities and whatnot. And what we found, and this is the fascinating thing, the more users that come into Tinder, the better the experience is for everyone, because this sort of, if you think about it as kind of like we're routing you to the right person, well, the more people we have, the more options we can give you, and the smarter the algorithm becomes. So it's actually, initially when we first started, it was one of our fears, because everything was pretty random. Our fear was, well, what happens when you now have a diverse audience? Like, it works on a college campus where everyone sort of has this common thread, which is the fact that they go to, let's say, USC, or they have sort of common friends. But when it expands and it becomes diverse, how do you maintain that quality and that relevance? And that was a fear of ours, and something that we worked very hard to perfect over the last 9 months. And now, I think you're getting this increasing return with every new user, as far as the match rate, as we call it, the number of matches to swipes. Yeah.
When your user group gets so large, are there other problems introduced, like security, privacy, or, things like that? Well, obviously, and we were talking on stage, your infrastructure just kind of exploded. Yeah. You have to rewrite stuff all the time.
There's a lot of interesting challenges when you're growing as fast as we are. Everyone always says success is, or sort of those types of problems are fun to have, but they're not that fun. They're very scary. We're fortunate because we have an awesome team that has given their heart and soul to Tinder and really sort of overcome all those challenges. But there are many points when we were just sort of like, fuck, like everything's about to break.
Thanks for that.
Because, we're all done.
This guy.
F-U-C-K. So yeah, I think it's a scary position to be in. It's also, it's very scary when you have like everything to lose, and like you're hanging by a thread, because you start with this prototype code, which is how we started Tinder. I mean, we didn't build the product to sort of withstand all the users we have right now, and you have this unique problem where you have to maintain the current system, right? The current code to sustain the existing audience, but then rewrite everything while you're maintaining that current one to sustain the ongoing demand. And it's a very challenging and emotional experience. Luckily, we went through it, and now we're in a very, very healthy place as far as our architecture and sort of the health of our system technology.
Okay. And because we care about our audience and we want the experience to be good for you guys, we're going to open up some questions to the audience. We've got mic runners. And while you're thinking of your questions, I'm going to ask you one more. And you've talked a little bit about moving Tinder beyond dating. Like, what would that look like? What would a Tinder without the hot or not aspect be like?
So, I think the core, the sort of core experience behind Tinder is this idea of a double opt-in. And if you look at marketplaces, if you can efficiently create this double opt-in experience, you can add a lot of efficiency to marketplaces. And we've done that when it comes to social discovery with context to making a new friendship or making a new romantic relationship, but there's a lot of areas in our daily lives where this double opt-in can sort of enhance the marketplace experience and enhance the relevance of our interactions. And we don't know if we'll go out of dating because sort of it's core to who we are. We don't really think about it as dating, more of like sort of social discovery, meeting friends, meeting people in your area. But it's definitely sort of as just sort of curious product guys. We always think about how could philosophically what we're doing apply to different areas of our lives.
Okay. And please prompt anyone with a question to raise your hand, and the mic will come to you. I know you have some questions.
Can you talk a little bit about the design process that you went through when designing your original app and how that's evolved as you've grown and made updates to your application?
Sure. So it was centered around simplicity, obviously. What we realized was two things. We realized that when it comes to mobile, we have a set of learned behaviors that we have to respect. And so, if you look at the top 3 apps that users use every single day, we looked at those apps and we said, well, there's behaviors here. There are things here that people are used to, that have been learned, and that we should respect. And that was one of the core things when we looked at our app. We're like, what can we take from other apps that are familiar? The second thing that I think was very important to sort of how we approach design is to have a singular focused experience and application. We don't want you to open Tinder and do 5 different things or have all these different buttons and options. We want the value to be front and center and to be accessible. We don't want to put sort of barriers in between you and actually experiencing Tinder. So we did a lot to ask the user less and provide the user more. So our registration process, we do a lot to sort of learn about the user behind the scenes. We will employ a lot of technology to understand a very simple data point just so we don't have to ask you. Because the cost of asking you could sort of create this expensive ripple effect throughout the whole application. So I think that's the sort of the second thing that's sort of core to our experience. How that's expanded and how that's grown is we realize that by accident or consciously, we've created our own sort of familiar behaviors and standards when it comes to mobile experiences. So now we have to respect our own language that we've created with our users. And when you're redesigning the app, like our upcoming iOS 7 redesign that we have coming, it's hard to sort of, you have to look at what brought you here and really analyze every little nuance in the experience, whether we did it on purpose or by accident, and respect that as you sort of design forward.
Unfortunately, sorry, we only had time for one question. We've got to run. Sorry. I took all the questions then. But thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Thanks.